spiritual director at CSL Davis for 5 years before that. So let's welcome Reverend Sara.
Thank you, Reverend Suzanne, and thank you all. I just feel it's important for me to warn you of something right now, which is that I'm a conspiracy theorist. And there is a conspiracy, and the Center for Spiritual Living, the Foothills Center for Spiritual Living, is one of the places that propagates this conspiracy. And that conspiracy is that the universe is here to shower you with blessings. And we live a lot of the time in another whole set of conspiracies regarding fear and doubt and worry and shoulda, woulda, coulda, and our to-do list and all the stuff that we need to do. But the actual truth of it is that we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience and a human experience in a human body on a human plane. And that we're connected to the 100% ability to know the truth. We're connected to an ability to know who we really are, and we're able to operate from that. And the whole world is changing right now. The whole world is changing right now. There's a new paradigm that's been wanting to become in for a really long time that allows people to actually be in their own power and authority and know who they are and know what's true for them and operate from that instead of all the thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and conclusions that have been here for centuries, right? And that is what wants in. That is what is coming. That is what is here. That is what people are craving and knowing and wanting and stepping into. And this center is about to be discovered as one of the places on the planet where you can come in and learn that and know that and practice that and be in your own power. So that's good news, and I'm here to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm here to tell you more about how to know what you know. And how to be, I am here as a bridge, and I'm here to invite you as a bridge, and we already know that Reverend Suzanne is a bridge in other ways, and this way, I'm sure. And every practitioner here, and every person here is a practitioner, whether this is their first time or not. A practitioner of how to navigate being a spiritual being in a human body, having a human experience, right? And a bridge between those two realities. The apparent reality and the actual reality. Anybody here want to be a bridge? Anybody here already know they are? Raise your hand. I make a lot more hand-raising requests than maybe you're used to, but it will happen. I'm just warning you. Oh, I never started the time, so that doesn't even count. Ha.
And remember gold nuggets.
Yes. And remember gold nuggets.
At the end of our service, people come up and tell you what they're going to take home.
There you go. So. All right. Remember that. So, there was a neuroscientist, what's her name? Jill Bolt Taylor, maybe you've heard of her, who was studying at Harvard mental illness, and she was studying she was particularly interested in her brother, who was a paranoid schizophrenic, and trying to figure out what's going on with the brain and how to solve all that. And then one day when she was at home, she had gotten off her exercise bike where she had been exercising really hard, and all of a sudden she was in a totally different reality. She felt at one with everything, and everything was amazing, and all was just so beautiful, and she was connected, and she could not interact with the reality that she normally was interacting with, like furniture and walking and all those things. Have people heard this story? Yes. So then she So then at some point, she was really into this coolness for a long time, and it sounds like she suddenly was on a drug trip or something, right? What hallucinogenic drug did she take to suddenly feel connected to all reality and not be able to interact with anything? And then at some point it settled in. I don't think she had any concept of time, but she suddenly realized that actually something was wrong in the sense of what was usually happening in her body, and that she couldn't do normal things. And so she began to realize that she needed help. And so she went through a series of things to try to call her assistant at the office, and just making a phone call was a nightmare. I mean, not a nightmare, but just took forever. And she found that she had no speech when he answered the phone, and she was just saying like blah, 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 to him, right? And he figured out that she needed help. He came, ambulances came, and it turned out she had had a stroke. And then she, as a neuroscientist, had an opportunity to learn about this. And you can either go to her short TED Talk, A Stroke of Insight, or read her entire book, A Stroke of Insight, if you want to know more about this. But what I want to focus on, and why I'm bringing it up right now, is that it's a great example of the two realities. She learned she already knew as a neuroscientist, but she got to have a powerful experience of it as a human being, that our left brain is the center of that reality I referred to a little while ago, right? Where it's my to-do list, and my bank account has this number, and that's not acceptable because I'm trying to do this in the world, and how am I going to get from this to this? And I have my to-do list, and I'm scared, and this is happening with my kid, and these people around me aren't behaving, and all that stuff is in there, right? This is the human experience. Like, I've got to do, and why am I even sitting, listening to this woman talk this morning? I really have way too many things to do because it's Thanksgiving, and oh my God, so-and-so is coming, and she's going to be awful, and how do I deal with that, and all that, right? But also the part where I'm able to, write a talk, and deliver the talk, and make a PowerPoint, and, actually do things in the real world, work. All of that lives in the left brain as well. In the right brain, which is half the brain, it is this part of us that is connected to everything, that is the creator, that is here to create, that has access to all power as us, where the apparent reality, the limitations of the apparent reality are non-existent. They don't come into effect. And both of those things are true in a human body. Isn't that wild? And so what are we doing here? What do we do when we do spiritual practice? What do we do when we do that beautiful meditation that Reverend Suzanne just led us through? Or when we sing together? Or when we choose not to, we actually don't get on that bridge. So just remember that. So when we choose to really pay attention to a meditation and do it, to engage and actually sing aloud, we are on that bridge from that left brain experience to that right brain experience, from that shoulda, woulda, coulda, to-do list experience and limitation, to unlimitation. And those are all both available all the time. It's the good news and the bad news, right? It's all available all the time. Like, I can always be in lack and limitation, and I can always be in unlimited. So, I'm studying how to know what I know, and teaching how to know what I know, and writing a book on it. Another story that influenced me on this is Glenda Green, who wrote wrote a book called Love Without End, Jesus Speaks. And Glenda Green, she's still alive, is a quite successful and well-known artist nationally. She actually has entire paintings in the National Gallery. That's how well known she is. And prior to this happening, but at some point in the, I can't remember, 80s, 90s, a while ago, and she was trained as a scientist before becoming a painter, which is interesting. And she says that Jesus came to her for a sitting, for her to paint him. That she totally didn't believe it could be Jesus. It made no sense to her. She doesn't even do sittings. She paints nature. She doesn't paint people. But Jesus came to her and said, I want you to paint me. And she became convinced that this was real. She talked with her husband, who was a full-time scientist, and he examined things and became convinced that this was real. So she painted Jesus. And this book, which doesn't seem to be in print anymore, but you can get copies of, Love Without End, Jesus Speaks, is all the first half of it is her experience, like becoming convinced that this really was personification, the re-embodiment of the Jesus Christ consciousness in a human being in Texas in the 90s. And then the second half is what he said, her writing down the conversations they had during months and months and months of sittings. And this, whether you believe that that was literally Jesus or that there ever was Jesus or anything, doesn't matter. But the truth of this book is that the words that come out are so cool. And Glenda writes that Jesus said, when you leave God out and substitute the right brain for just God, substitute the part of us that's connected to all things, the unlimited reality. When you leave that out, reality just boils down to structure, opinion, illusion, and chaos. Nothing more. Reality is a living miracle if you would only behold it. So, and then he goes on at length about reality, and then he goes on to all this stuff about quantum science and all this stuff, which she could vaguely understand because she had had a PhD in chemistry beforehand. So it's really interesting to see all that. But basically he's saying there's a small r reality, which I would say is our left brain, and a capital R reality, which is the living miracle if you would only behold it. So any minister, any practitioner is a bridge between these. Any human being is a bridge between these. I also happen to have been trained as a lawyer, and so in a lawyer job, and a lot of jobs on the planet, white collar kind of jobs, I would say, but maybe lots more. Who knows? I don't know. My job is really to help people, as a lawyer, to navigate the apparent reality. What's the most that we can extract given the limitations that appear here, right? What's the most that we can get done? Although many people will tell you that the best possible lawyers and advocates are the ones who on some level are doing things that seem impossible, right? Like Brown versus Board of Education, the Supreme Court case which struck down segregation, that didn't seem possible given the apparent realities. That didn't seem like something that could possibly happen, but a set of lawyers and years worked to it, right? So we're creating miracles all the time given the apparent limitations, but what are we doing? We're drawing upon that creativity, we're drawing upon the unlimited power of the one to go beyond whatever it is that we think are the apparent realities. And say it with me, apparent realities. Yeah. Going into the holidays, there's a lot of apparent realities. Like she goes on and on. Does she have any idea how much I have to cook this afternoon? Okay. So what do we need to know from the real reality? What would be useful to be able able to access? Where do we choose? Relationships, career, should we go to grad school, should we retire? Financial, should we buy, should we rent, what should we buy and rent? Should we get a new car, should it be an electric vehicle? Health, what if we have a diagnosis, what do we actually do? What sort of course of treatment do we take? Do we have something going on with us that we need to listen to? All of that in the apparent reality can feel very stuck and very scary and very difficult to navigate. The unlimited power of the One has, through me, has ways to bring what else is possible and how does it get even better than this. I have a daughter, I also have a son. My son has not displayed much interest in my spiritual knowledge. My daughter, not so much either, but she does like to talk to me about, to get advice and to find out what to do. When she calls me, I always guide her back to herself and to her own knowing. And that's why she keeps calling me. Because I don't tell her what to do. I tell her I tell her ways in which she can find out what is her truth. One of the biggest ways that I tell her is, what's light for you is a yes. What's light for me. And what's heavy for me is a no. So you can just put your hand sort of in the vicinity of your chest. If you have any decisions, big or small, that you have right now, think about, or like if you were to, just think about one decision, choice A and choice B. Choice A, does it feel light and spacious and expansive and over in that right brain? Like, whoa, how cool. Or does it feel heavy and stuck or somewhere in between, right? That is a way of assessing what is my yes. Now, if you're anything like me, and maybe you've heard me say this, that I used to think that, this took me a really long time to get light equals yes, and heavy equals no, because I was that good girl that always did everything people expected of me. And that means that I was always trying to do what I should do. And so I thought should equals yes. But shoulds are heavy often. Shoulds are like something, some thought, belief, opinion, conclusion, expectation of society that has put upon me, usually that my mother wanted me to do, or something like that, and our society wanted me to do, or some teacher, and it may or may not have been light for me or mine to do. But I did it anyway, and I thought you should too. And I judged you because you weren't doing what you should do. And I still do, by the way. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. I will catch myself, and I will know, oh, look at me. I'm judging everyone out here because they're not doing shit. And I'm judging myself because I'm not doing my shit. Instead of what's light for me and what I'm here to do on the planet as a spiritual being having a human experience. And it turns out that the more I choose from lightness, the more the apparent reality, the limitations of the apparent reality disappear. The more money comes my way. The more amazing people come my way. The more something that just doesn't seem like it's going to happen, happens. Like it can't happen. Because everyone says this isn't the year for that. It's not going to happen. You can't sell a house now, you can't buy a house now. So just don't. Well, people are selling and buying houses all the time. So it just happens. And if I want it, it happens if I can get connected with the reality of the lightness. My daughter called me one time, and even now, I will cry when she calls me sometimes. I don't tell her, because I'm so happy that she's calling to ask me. So one time she called me when she was in an airport, and she was like really upset because she's going to have to spend like the whole night in the airport because the plane was grounded. It wasn't going anywhere. I told this story a different way recently, and then I found out from the rest of people like, Mom, you're going to tell a story, tell it right. Okay, so it actually turned out it was grounded because of COVID. She was in New York, and it was right at the beginning of COVID. She had gone there before plane groundings, and now the planes were grounded. And she's like stuck in JFK airport, and she's going to be there overnight. And she said, what do? I don't know what to do. Can you tell me what to do? I don't know what to do. I can't even go on, I can't even get a ride back to the hotel. Everything's stuck. I don't know what to do. I'm upset. She was like 22 at the time, 23. And I said, well, say aloud, what else is possible? And she said, I'm not going to do that. That's just stupid. You know, there's other people in here, Mom. They're going to hear me talking to myself like an idiot. I'm not going to say what else is possible. And I said, well, you call me. I mean, that's all I got for you. She's like, great, Mom. Thanks a lot. I'll let you know what happens. She 15 minutes later, she calls me back. She says, you're never going to believe what happened. And I said, I mean. And she said, well, I didn't say your stupid phrase, but I walked up to a lady I'd already talked to 3 times, who had already checked on planes multiple times. And I said to her, what else is possible? I'm just wondering, what else is possible? So she said it to another human being. And the lady said, well, I've already told, oh, looks like we can run the plane. It's just that you'll be the only person on it. And it would go right now if you wanted to do it. And she goes, yes. and she had called me from the plane. She's on the plane. It's literally the pilot, a flight attendant, and her. That's who's on the plane. And she goes, I'm going home, Mom. I'm getting a total solo ride home. And thank you for that phrase. I don't think that stupid phrase did it, but it did lead to something really cool. So you don't have to believe this. That's proof. You don't have to believe any of this for its work. So say aloud, what else is possible?
What else is possible?
How does it get much, much better than this?
How does it get much, much better than this?
These are questions that are not for me to put on my to-do list. Okay, Reverend Sarah said, I have to figure out what else is possible. So now I'm going to go sit home and I'm going to figure out what else is possible. No, this is not a to-do list thing. Figuring it out, I'm in 12 step, and we say figuring it out is not a step. Figuring out is not something that we have to do. The universe, remember, half of our brain is connected to the unlimited mind, so it knows what else is possible, even if this part over here with the to-do list and all that doesn't know, right? The unlimited power knows what else is possible. So when I say it aloud, and then I just get curious, what else is possible? What else is possible for Foothills Center for Spiritual Living? What else is possible with my health? What else is possible? Like if I am dreading some Thanksgiving or holiday occasion, what else is possible? What energy, space, and consciousness could I be to have an entirely different experience this holiday? That whether it's been dreading being alone, or dreading with being with those people, or the amount of shopping I have to do, or the amount of cooking, or any of those things, what else is possible? Where am I saying yes to something that isn't right for me? That's one of those things. You can use, I recommend using what else is possible in traffic, anytime you feel stuck. Anytime I feel stuck. Well, I've got lots of other things like this to say. However, I've been talking for a while. So, Most of you were offered a card for me when you came in. If you want to be on my mailing list and know about things that I'm up to, then get on there. I say it's not just marketing. Every single week you get thoughts that I have about what's going on, and people usually like them. And you can unsubscribe at any time, and it will work. This coming Tuesday, I actually have a class being taught by a friend of mine, a Tuesday noon from 12 to 1, on how to use pendulums to tell what's right for you. So it's on Zoom. So if any of you want to do that, then you would need to sign up very quickly so I had your email. I'm going to be teaching Busting Loose from the Money Game starting in January at Center for Spiritual Awareness on Zoom, through Zoom, which could be great for this center. It's all about this. And let me just say something before we go into prayer, which is that you are a contribution. Every one of us is a contribution. We're here to create, we're here to contribute, and we have the ability to create and contribute. And the more that we create and the more that we contribute, the more we receive. I want to destroy and uncreate from you the thought that anything you put in that basket is is from the need of the center and you having to give something. You are giving because that is directly connected from source, the unlimited power, the one, the more you give, the more you will receive. So let's drop into what we've already been remembering here, that the unlimited power of the one as us is always operating. And I know that every person in this room, as a spiritual being having a human experience in a human plane, draws more now on what else is possible and how does it get better than this. Draws more and more from the unlimited power of them, from that part of their brain that they perhaps have not been exercising or accessing as much throughout this time and throughout this life. What else is possible in the Middle East? What else is possible in Ukraine? What else is possible in Congress? What else is possible in the White House? The Centers for Spiritual Living hold a vision of a world that works for everyone. And I know that there are more than enough resources in the entire world for every small and large person in the world to go to bed with a full belly and a full heart tonight. And I know that, and a roof over their head, and love in their life. And I destroy and uncreate any apparent limitations or lacks in my consciousness and in the consciousness of anyone within the sound of my voice, if they are willing to receive it. I'm willing to know that the actual truth, the actual reality is unlimited food, unlimited housing, unlimited peace, unlimited love. This is the reality that is available for us to behold. And I say we behold. And I say that this Foothill Center for Spiritual Living is a place where that spreads throughout the world, throughout Auburn, throughout the foothills. What else is possible here? What is the next phase of the existence here? Pulling money, time, creativity, everyone who wishes to hang out and be in the coolness of this conspiracy, calling you all right now. Know that you are welcome. Know that you are loved. Know that you are included. Know that your life changed this moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. I give from that overflow. I give from that right brain. I give more than I would ever have given before, because I know that that is the truth and not this other part. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I let go. and I let God, and so it is.